record this locally and I'm going to edit it. So, okay. So now that you've got the project cloned out, the next question becomes, how do we build a new endpoint? So let's just walk through the process of building a new endpoint. So we're going to focus on the simple one here, which is going to be the deletion of an existing task. So let's think through just what we need to do, generally speaking. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste this. And I'm going to say delete a task. And this should return, for to think through what the correct response is when we delete a task. I'm going to do HTTP status codes, just pull this up. Wikipedia is great. And these are the 5 categories for HTTP status codes. And within here, when we successfully delete one, that means we know it's going to be somewhere in the 200 range. And then the question becomes, what's the right response to return for a deleted status code? 200 OK would be an acceptable way. I've seen APIs do that. 202 would make sense if that's something that like maybe deleting that will take some time and you can't
Mhm.
immediately tell the person that's deleted. So, but if it's normally like from my perspective, like when most APIs that I've seen that are HTTP based, they'll return a 204 no content, meaning that like the we received the request, so it was successful, and no content. Now makes sense because now we're going to say like, hey, I got it, and now it's gone. So there's nothing else related to this body. So if someone's
Okay.
consuming the application, so if someone like writes an API client, they might listen for just status codes and ignore the body for a certain scenario. And if it returns a 204 OK or 204 no content, then they know that that thing is gone. So I'm going to say that's a 204 no content.
Mhm.
And I'm documenting this out. And what this would look like on this side of things is you would see a new endpoint kind of listed right here in that ASCIIDoctor documentation. And I'm going to say delete 1204. And
Are we gonna have to
uh,
delete anything from, using this?
what do you mean delete
Like,
anything?
like how you're doing the delete, command. Are we gonna have to use that for the project?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
this is going to be, yeah, this is going to be an exact, you'll be able to use this exactly in a project.
Okay.
So okay, so I've got this new endpoint. I documented an endpoint that doesn't exist. So that's why it's got all underlines in here. So I created a new folder. I said, hey, we're going to need to be able to delete one. And let's just kind of focus on the happy path here. I'm going to do, uh, maybe we need to create a task, and this is going to return a 200. Okay, 200. Okay, right. And
Yeah.
let's just kind of list this through, right? So I'm just going to say create. And I'm going to say that's a 200 OK. Great, minus 200. And normally in most APIs, you're going to want to have, depending on the typical behavior, you might start with create at the top and then getting one. And then we have deleting a task. And then let's maybe do one more, which is get a list of tasks, right? And that's going to return get all, I don't know, something like that. And that's going to return a 200 as well. Get minus all 200. So we have creating, we have getting one, we have getting one happy path, we have getting one sad path, we have getting a list of tasks. So that's like the collection endpoint. And then we have the deleting a task, and I'll just get rid of this for now. So I've kind of partially documented things. So we have 3 that we need to build out that we know we don't have yet. And we know that because it's not generated code yet. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. So if we were to do things using uh, the programming pattern red green refactor or test driven development, that means I need to write my test next. So let's focus on the delete or create. Create's a little harder. Let's do that. Okay. So we're going to say create a new task. 200. Okay. And the reason why I'm going to do that is if I were to go to my structure view, I can just see like I can go through the list of things, right? I can kind of find in my code just the function names. It makes it a little bit easier to
Yeah.
go wherever that is. So um do 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 do. So now let's think through what we need to do. So at a high level, if we're creating a task, we're going to task object as JSON, right? So we're going to perform an HTTP post operation. So this will be HTTP post to /tasks. Body will be a JSON payload shaped like a task, right? So that's what it's going to be. And we expect a 200 OK. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's do a task, and I'm going to call this task request, new task, okay? And then I need to set some values in here. And these are just being suggested to me. I think that's all we need, and I don't even think we need the pending status. Let's look what else we have in here. The task takes a title, a description, and a status. Cool. Um, and that's saying it's write only because I haven't used it yet. So that gets our task. But now the question is, how do we get this to write to a JSON string? So there's a thing called object mapper, and this is used by, so Jackson's the library, and we can say object mapper equals new object mapper. And the AI is auto-suggesting this for me, but it makes it nice and handy. But I just say object mapper.write value as string task request. And there's all kinds of stuff you can do with Jackson, but just for the sake of seeing where this is at so far, I'm going to click the debug button and just run this so far. And I just want to see what the content of this is, if I were to look at that. And you can see our task request, we filled it, right? And all these values are null. And then we just have a title and a description that's set. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to do something a little bit more advanced here, just for the sake of like, maybe we don't want to upload null
Mhm.
values here. We don't want to include those, and that might be a little bit funky for our API. So there's two things we could do. One, we could create a task request class that only includes title, description, and status, and that might be perfectly appropriate. Or I can include a JSON include, and there's this annotation which says JSON include non-null, which means it's only going to supply these values if they are not null. So what this annotation will do is this should remove ID, and it should remove created at, and also status once I do the same thing here. Let's rerun this test here just to see if that's correct. And it is, in fact, correct. So you can check this out here now. Now we just have a title and a description that was submitted because that's all we supplied. So
Okay.
that's kind of cool. That's kind of nice, right? That means we're not supplying any extra stuff that we need to do. So okay, cool. So now we have the request shape in the way that I think that our API would expect us to reasonably do it. Like you want to get a new task, give it a title, give it a description, and that's all that we're expecting at the moment. So then what's going to happen next is when our service gets the request, we're going to expect that the repository is going to get called at some point in time. And we're actually mocking the repository. So it's not actually going to be writing to any actual repository. So we might want to validate that it can, in fact, save there. So I'm going to say, I want to make sure that it gets called save. And I'm going to do like kind of a cheat method here, but I'm going to call this, I'll just say any of type right here. And this needs to be a task.class. I do believe that might be, cannot find variable task, dot class. Is that right? Oh, hold on. This did something funky here. Hold on. It grabbed the wrong class. There we go. Okay. So we're going to call when we save the task in the save method, what does it return? It returns the same object back. And what I'm going to do here, which is going to be a little bit funky, I'm going to give back a task response. Now, this might seem a little strange here, but I'm going to create a new task response. And the only difference here is I'm going to set the ID, and the title. We'll actually get the title from our request. Get title. And we'll also give it a pending status and get set created at instant.now. And there we go. See, it even auto suggested that once I got that far. Cool. All right. So we kind of expect that to happen now. And now the question then becomes, okay, it's going to return that. So our repository will return that. And then we can, now the question is, we need to be able to perform this endpoint here. So we're going to perform a post operation on tasks, not task/1. We're going to say we accept application JSON, and then we need to body. Hold on here. Content right here. So this is like our the body, that JSON string that's being published up. And let's add one more content type. We're gonna be really specific, and we're gonna say we're giving it application JSON. And then I expect this, when it's happy, is gonna return a 200 OK. And I think we just said create 200. Okay, so far this looks pretty good. I think the question then becomes, what's the story? What's this line here? I don't know if that was I don't know what that was. So this so far looks pretty good. Do we think it's going to pass? So we publish up, we do a get HTTP post to /tasks. We gave it the right content. We tell it we expect a 200 OK. And the question is, will it pass? Bets? Yes, no?
I think yes.
You think yes? Okay, I'm going to run it. And what do we get? We got a yellow. Yellow's not good.
Oh,
It performed a post. It did the HTTP post. It did it to tasks. It has the right header. We even gave it accept. It's got 45 bytes of content. The body looks correct. And what did we get? Response. 404. Why did we get a 404? We expected a 200. We got a 404.
what?
Yeah. You see right here?
Oh.
So why do you think we got a 404?
Hmm.
We made the request. The test is valid. It is the right kind of test. I'll give you a hint. And I'm actually going to fix this too while we're at it. And the reason why, we're at the request mapping /tasks. We have a get mapping for tasks, but what are we missing?
Get mapping for description.
The endpoint here. So we can get a task. We've documented that. We built the code for that. We wrote a test for getting, and we validated if it's not there. We validated if it is there. But now we need to create a task, right?
Oh,
So we're missing something as far as capability goes.
post mapping tasks.
Task. Well, we need to now we need to be able to create a task here. So we need to create a task, and this is request. So model. Blanking on the name. Request body. I'll say here that sounds right. And this is going to take a task. And I might even throw out validate. It's either valid or validated, one of the two. And we'll get rid of that. And I'm going to click the play button. Let's just see if it gets this far. And yep, it did. Do you see how now it landed on task repository save? I'm going to click play. And now we got a green checkbox. it's saved. So that's cool. And then let's do one more thing here. Let's go check this. And you see how that one no longer is red and angry. So now we have the 200 OK. Let's check it out. Oh, it's actually right here. You can see right here, we create a task. This gave us a big, fat, chubby post curl command. So curl, and we could run this on our computer too. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to run the application. And this will be kind of cool here. So, or at least, you know, on the grand scheme of things here, it'll at least be interesting. I'm going to paste this into my bash command line. So the nice thing about this is without having like the application running or anything, it actually did, it worked. And if I were to look at my code here and I'm in the NU database and I look at my tasks database, it just published it right here. I know that because that is in fact the time. And if I do one more, I get task ID 2 and refresh, boom, another one there. So looking good. So that one's documented. Now let's do one more. Let's do one more. I'm gonna, you know, benefits for the class, right? Benefits. I'm on a roll now. So the alternative approach. So the nice thing about this is by writing that test first on our API controller here, we have our create a new task 200 OK. Maybe our task. Maybe we need a minimum of 5. Maybe that's like a sane validation we want to have. You need to give us at least a title in there, right? Maybe that's what we
Mhm.
want to validate against. So maybe you need a minimum of 5 in there. So let's go back to our controller. So if we added validation and we expect it to have a minimum of 5, I probably wouldn't write this validation this way. I 400 bad request when title is too short. I don't know. Maybe that's the same thing. Let me close that. I just opened the totally wrong project there. So create create a task, 400 bad requests when title's too short. Okay. We're just gonna say, I'm gonna use the word 1 for this, and I'm gonna run this, and I'm curious right now. Here's what's funny about this. This test, when I run it here, I expected a 200, but I actually got a 400. That's because I wrote the test wrong, and I did it on purpose here. And I'm going to call this create 400. And now we're expecting, says it's expecting and is okay. That's wrong. I want this to give me a bad request. So if it fails validation, it looks like that. And now if I were to rerun this again, now it should be green, meaning that that's happily failing, or I should say, it's failing in the way that we expect it to fail.
Yeah.
And here's an interesting one. Okay, this one here though, but now we have another breakage, and I'm not sure I expected that breakage. Why did it break? This one, 200 OK, why did it break? Huh. Fail. We gave it title. That one's really curious. I'm really curious about that. Let's run that. Why did that fail? Because this one definitely has a title that is long enough. Task request, it has a long enough title. Da, 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 da. Let's see here. Let's see what we got here on our create mapping. Validated. Oh, hold on, this might be the wrong validator. Because it's a string, we need to say min equals 5. Let's see if that's right. I think size is for lists of things. Does that make sense? Like you have
Yeah.
a count of attributes. Let's rerun all of these. And then you can just continue. Let's just see. And continue. Go away, breakpoints. There we go. Yeah, I had the wrong validator. So size was the wrong one for a string. I always forget that one. I wish this one is, they should just make that one like a generic work for multiple types. But now, when I create a new task 200 okay, that works fine. And when I have the 400 bad request, it also fails validation if the title is too short. So that's good. So now we at least know our API is doing some version of basic validation on there. So that is how I would go about documenting that. And if I were to run our application, and just for the sake of being consistent here, I'm going to go into here and I'm going to uh, run that Maven build on install. And then what that should do over here on the target side of things is I will see the generated docs should be updated right here when it's all happy. Whenever this is done running. So
Yeah. Are you gonna post this on
yeah,
Discovery?
I'll post this on Discovery.
Okay.
And let's see here. Let's run the application and let's double check that our documentation looks happy. And there we go. And so now if I'm a consumer of this application, if I'm trying to figure out how this works, I can at least see how I've got a better feel for how this project works, but I can also see that there's work that remains to be done. So the reason why I did the post one, I think that's a harder one for people to work through. And so that one at least is like a more complex path. So I'm going to stop the screen
Okay.
share here and I'll stop recording. And then I'm going to upload this to, I'll probably stick this on YouTube as well. So
Okay. Thank you so much.
yeah, for sure. Let me, where's the more recording? Pause, stop.